Ishwari Mataji. Okay, I'll just read it and she can catch up. O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both.
Hare Krishna, I can read now.
Okay.
That which pervades the entire body, you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. The material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore fight, O descendant of Bharata.
Neither he who thinks the living entity the slayer, nor who thinks it slain, is in knowledge. For the self slays not nor is slain. For the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain.
O Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? As a person puts on a new garment, giving up old ones, the body similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones.
The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble, and can be neither burned nor dyed. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same.
It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. If, however, you think that the soul, for the symptoms of life, will always be born and die forever, you still have no reason to lament, O mighty aunt.
One who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. All created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So, what need is there for lamentation?
Some look at the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living being.
Text 31. Considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles, and so there is no need for hesitation. O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets.
Text 33. If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sin for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. 34. People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. Hare Krishna.
The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you?
O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing, you shall never incur sin. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Okay, so finished reading half of chapter 2. That is Koda for us today. And while Suyesh Prabhu is bringing up 215, okay. Who goes next?
It's you. Yam hina vyathayante ete purusham purushar samadukha sukham dhiram somityatva kalpate.
Very nice.
Yam, one to whom. Hi, certainly. Na, never. Vyadhanti are distressing. Ete, all these. Paryusam, to a person. Paryusarabha, O best among men. Sama, unaltered. Dukha, in distress. Sukham, and happiness. Dhairyam, patient. Sah, he. Amartavya, for liberation. Kalpate is considered eligible.
Okay, good.
Translation. O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation.
Purport. Anyone who is steady in his determination for the advanced stage of spiritual realization and can equally tolerate the onslaughts of distress and happiness is certainly a person eligible for liberation. In the Varnashram institution, the fourth stage of life, namely the renounce order sannyas, is a painstaking situation. But one who is serious about making his life perfect surely adopts the sannyas order of life in spite of his difficulties. The difficulties usually arrive from having to sever family relationships to give up the connections of wife and children. Hare Krishna, somebody else can read.
But if anyone is able to tolerate such difficulties, surely his path to spiritual realization is complete. Similarly, in Arjuna's discharge of duty as a Kshatriya, he is advised to persevere, even if it is difficult to fight with his family members or similarly beloved persons. Lord Chaitanya took sannyasa at the age of 24, and his dependents, young wife as well as old mother, had no one else to look after them. Yet for a higher cause, he took sannyasa and was steady in the discharge of higher duties. That is the way of achieving liberation from material bondage. Hari Bol.
Very bold. Okay, so we can stop sharing. So we have 6 minutes to be precise to share our reflections, which we did yesterday. You had some fantastic reflections that cover these purport. Anything new that comes to your mind today?
Onslaught.
Onslaught. Very
Onslaught of
good.
happiness and distress. Both are onslaught.
Okay, fantastic. Fantastic. And so why is happiness an onslaught?
Because it disturbs us ultimately. Our mind is not in a constitutional position it should be
Yeah,
when we are happy.
right. Sometimes it's difficult to concentrate when you're very happy, right?
Mhm.
I was so happy that you just don't know what to do. I mean, Vidura, you're so happy. Of course, that is transcendental happiness, but things like that can happen, right? And if we are very happy and we get negligent in the kitchen or in a factory where we are working, then it's a difficult thing to handle. And actually, it's very interesting that once we were having this class, I think at ISV on this particular verse, and one of the devotees in the audience, he just said that yeah, it's good to know that there is a solution to happiness and distress. and, and I was like, oh, so you're trying to find a solution to happiness? And then yes, and he said that he quoted like Tiger Woods was not able to handle his happiness. And then the guy was from India, so he gave an example of cricket. I think during those days there was some match that was going on, and there was this bowler. He bowled, and the other person was out, right? And so he was very jubilant. So this person was very, very jubilant, way beyond he should have been, right? There's a little decorum in the game also, that if you beat the opponent, I mean, yes, you're happy, but then you'll be a little bit, conservative about displaying it. And so he was like that. And on the other hand, the person who got out, he couldn't handle the distress part of it. So we had a nice combination, not able to handle the happiness, not able to handle the distress. So this one who was distressed went and slapped that person on the face. The one who was being very happy in front of a stadium full of, thousands and thousands of spectators. So these kind of things can happen in our life. And so when the distress, and of course, then for slapping, this is not right? Legally, it is not right. Not supposed to slap anybody. So then there will be action that will be taken, disciplinary action that you have to now face, and and so this is what it is. Vaisheshika Prabhu calls this world as a tar baby. So what is a tar baby? A tar baby will be, and I read about it when I was growing up. There was a nice story on rabbits and things like that. And so this little rabbit, he goes and he finds a little baby sitting there with a hat, very tiny baby, but he's black in color. And so he goes and starts talking to the baby, and the baby doesn't respond. So he gets very angry and he slaps it. Now, actually, that baby was made of tar, charcoal, that thing that you use for making the roads. He's made of that. And so he slaps it, and then his hand goes and gets stuck, and he gets very angry. So he goes, uses his other hand, and that hand also gets stuck. So both his hands are stuck in the tar baby. And he says, Vaisheshika says that this is exactly our situation in the material world, that whenever we are in a distressful position, we try to adjust it. We try to adjust it using our puny brains, and we get involved deeper and implicated deeper and deeper and deeper into that. So we have to learn to tolerate. We have to learn to tolerate. There's no other way. And that's what he said. Krishna says in the previous verse, and this is a continuation of the verses. For example, in the beginning, he was saying that natve evam jatu nasham, right? Neither you will be destroyed nor I was destroyed, not born. So he's talking about that. And he talks about, okay, so you are indestructible. And then he says, but you are in a body. And through the body, dehismin yatha dehe kaumaram yavanam jara, was verse number 13. Right? So then he's saying that, what happens to the soul when he's in the body? Well, nothing is happening to you, just the body that is changing. Keep that in mind. But then we are in the body. So that's why in verse number 14, he says, Marta sparshastu kontreya sitoshun sukha dukkha. And we came across the definition of matra, where we said that matra is measure. And so the senses are measuring. And what is the senses measuring? Happiness and distress. Oh, this is going to give me happiness. I'll go for this. This is going to give me distress. I'm going to go for it. Go for that. And this pursuing of happiness, Prahlad Maharaj describes it very nicely in Srimad Bhagavatam, where he says that the moments we start to plan to be happy, our distress begins from that point. Do you agree with that?
So,
Yes.
Khyati?
Say that again, Mataji.
He said that the moment you start planning for happiness, your distress begins.
That's the local maxima. And then you just start go down.
Yes.
Optimization.
Yes, yeah. What's not going to happen? This is not going to happen. Where am I going to get the money? He's got more money. What's going to happen? Like that. So your distress actually begins from that. So whatever is coming. Sorry.
It begins with desires, right? Because
yes. Oh yes.
The root cause is desire.
Exactly. Yeah, please go ahead.
And Krishna says that it carries away the mind of even steady intelligence, right? One who is endeavor to.
Right. And then what does he say? One of the roaming senses carries away the mind of a person who's trying to control it, right? And the desires are in the mind. And we talked about, when we talked about the senses, we said that the senses actually are not, it's not that my eyes are like that and images fall on my eyes. My eyes are actively looking for certain things. Like if you go into the kitchen, depending on who you are, you'll find different things in the kitchen. A woman might, a lady might say, okay, now, see it as a chore, I have to go cook, or this place is not clean and things like that. A child might see the refrigerator and the ice cream inside it, will not see red chilies, green chilies, anything like that. The eyes are focused because of the desire which is there in the body. So yes, Kathy, they're driven by the desires. So we might have different kinds of desires in life, but what life deals out to us might be something very different. And so that is why we are supposed to tolerate. And one of the things that comes to mind is that if you are supposed to tolerate it, then why does it say there's a term there which says so amritavaya kalpate. So he says that, if you are tolerating, then you are eligible for liberation. So why does it say that you are eligible for liberation? If I'm tolerating something, why am I eligible for liberation? Like that, So the thing to keep,
Yeah,
go ahead.
because nothing can move you, means you will be determined. So
exactly. Yes, when you're tolerating it, like if the more you dabble in the material world, and the more you try to adjust it, you'll find that the solution is actually more difficult than the problem that you have. So the more that you dabble in the material, the more that you are entangled in the material, then your destiny will also be material, because that's what you're aiming for. But the more you dabble in the spiritual, your destiny will be spiritual, because that's what I'm aiming for, like that, right? So this is what this the approach that we have towards the distress and the happiness in our life, not embracing either one of them, because sometimes people also get very happy because of the austerities that they are going. And Prabhupada, once doing a Mayavad bashing, just says that, oh, the Mayavadis, they also do austerities, and they relish the austerities that they're doing, and they're very happy in their austerities, that I'm doing this and I'm doing that, but you're doing it for the wrong cause. You're thinking that you're God. So like that. So
Mataji, does this mean that we cannot control the origin, but we can control the process, right?
Absolutely. Very well said. Very well said. You cannot pursue whatever is doled out to you by our karmic reaction, but we have the free will to determine how we are going to react to it. And that's why they say that miseries will come on their own accord, but how you react to it is completely in your hand. So think about this point, and we can continue more on that if there are more reflections, more questions tomorrow. But I need to go for the other meeting now. Okay. So thank you so much for your fantastic realizations, for fantastic sharing, and welcome Mayank Agarwal Prabhu, Divyangi Mataji, and also Atita Radhe Mataji said that she also enjoys your company here. And then Vijay Lakshmi Nair also says that she started to looking forward to it. So this is and then Barsha Mataji says that if your desire is to serve Krishna and his devotees, and you start planning and try to establish yourself to be able to serve better, is that the same as planning for happiness bringing distress? No, you are on a transcendental plane. And then, but will you have distress? Yes, you will have distress, but it'll be a transcendental distress like that. I think we're not done on this topic. We'll talk more about that, but just don't want to be for my other appointment. And thank you, Max Bhakta Max Gray Prabhu, for joining us on the call. Have a fantastic.
Even I had also had a question, but we will talk tomorrow.
We will talk about that. And I know Kathy has more up her sleeve that I could see from her expression. So maybe this is not done. After all, it involves liberation. So it's a big topic there. So we can continue that.
I wanted to say tomorrow we don't have Bhagavad-gita class, but
yes,
Sunday.
Oh, when I mean tomorrow, I mean the next. Yeah, thank you so much for reminding that. Yeah, Kathy. Tomorrow, no class, but we have a class today on Srimad Bhagavatam, today later in the afternoon. And then at 4:00 p.m. our time. And then tomorrow morning, we have Japa Circle and Srimad Bhagavatam class by Vaisheshika Prabhu and Bhakti Vriksh in the evening. Yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. And then Sunday morning, we resume the Bhagavad Gita classes again. Okay. So have a fantastic, fantastic Krishna conscious day. Think about Krishna, think about liberation. And Priyanka Mataji, you think about Bhagavatam distribution.